All of the college football teams' 2021 schedules have been released, and the great news is it looks like we're headed towards a 12-game regular season. Back to a normal college football season with non-con games and conference games. Fingers crossed, but it appears that we are headed in that direction. I've done a whole series of these schedule preview videos. We're keeping it going today with Ohio State's daughter. Let's go. Yeah, good morning in that, though, but it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And in addition to that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Did you know I post college football videos almost every single day of the year? It's true. Some of them are even watchable. I don't know about this one. You can let me know down in the comments section if it is or it ain't. Schedule preview time. We're going to do the Michigan Wolverines today. Normally, I take a few minutes at the beginning of the video because I do this every spring, these schedule previews. And I like to compare last year's schedule to the current year's schedule. You know, compare the non-con games, compare the road games and away games every year, or home games and away games every year, to see what, you know, is the current schedule more difficult than last year's, that kind of thing. That's obviously completely pointless in doing, particularly this year, with the reduced schedules that we had in 2020. I mean, you had some teams playing 10 games conference only. You had some teams like the Big Ten play 6 or 7 conference only. You had some, you know, like the ACC and the Big 12 played 1 non-con game. It's just impossible to compare last year's schedule to this year. Here is Michigan's 2020 schedule. You can see how they did. Of course, they were 2-4. I don't hold that against Michigan. I don't hold anything that happened last year against anybody. It was just way too strange. The Big Ten in particular, yeah, no spring practice, no off season. Really at all. Then the season was canceled. So, you know, how motivated really were the guys for those 2 or 3 weeks where you thought you weren't going to have a season at all? Then they come back and say, well, we are going to have a season. We're just going to start it really late and play 6 games and blah, blah, blah. I don't hold that against Michigan. Clearly, Michigan's got some issues. Clearly, Jim Harbaugh's got a lot to prove. I don't point to 2020, though, as a reason why. I mean, you can point to the previous 5-6 years under Jim Harbaugh as the reasons why. You don't need to point to last year. But 2-4 last year, you opened things up with a win on the road at Minnesota, 49-24. That was your best performance of the year. I mean, Minnesota had won 11 games before the season before. Most people, or a lot of people anyway, thought you were going to go on the road and lose this game week 1. Not only did you win, you blew them out. Your quarterbacks looked better than they've looked probably ever since Jim Harbaugh got there. And then it all just fell apart the following week. You lost at home to Michigan State, 27-24. You lost the following week at Indiana, 38-21. Got absolutely destroyed at home in front of Wisconsin, 49-11. You did manage to get a win on the road at Rutgers. First-year coach Greg Schiano, no offseason, brand new coaching staff. You go in there and get a miracle win in 3 overtimes. Congratulations. And then you lose to Penn State, who was 0-5 before they played you. So it was just not a great year. But again, I don't hold that against Michigan or Harbaugh. But yeah, you know, you call it like it is a terrible year. 2-4. All right, let's look at 2021 schedule. Here it is, Michigan's full schedule for 2021, and like I said before, headed towards a 12-game, quote-unquote, normal regular season, what we're all used to. You kick things off with 3 non-con games in a row, 2 of which are must-win games, and I don't see how you could lose them. Western Michigan and Northern Illinois, NIU, Northern Illinois. You should and most likely will win both of those games fairly easily. Now, that second game, you host Washington. Of course, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have signed some kind of non-con arrangement where they're agreeing to play some games back and forth, home and homes, over a certain number of years, Oregon and Ohio State. Here we get Washington hosting, or Michigan hosting Washington. This should be a pretty good game. I'm high on Washington this coming year. They were sort of a surprise to me last year that they were as good as they were. Again, hard to judge because the Pac-12 also had a very limited and reduced schedule, similar to what the Big Ten ended up doing. But this is not a gimme win for Michigan here. Now, you get them at home, so that's obviously a benefit. But this is an interesting game here, and one that I definitely don't think Michigan fans should sleep on or overlook. This could be a close game. So those are your 3 non-con games. Then you kick off your conference schedule at home against Rutgers. As mentioned, you beat them in like a 3 overtime game last year on the road. You get them at home this year. Greg Schiano, He's got Rutgers to the 10-win mark before, during his first tenure at Rutgers 100 years ago. I don't think he's getting them to 10 wins this year, but he will improve them over time. We'll see. This is one that I think Michigan's got to find a way to win, because you turn around the next week and go on the road at Wisconsin. They absolutely destroyed you last year in your own backyard. Now you got to go up there and play them at Camp Randall with the whole jump around and that. And look at this back-to-back road games at Wisconsin, at Nebraska. Back-to-back road games can be tricky, even if a team is favored in both games. Going on the road in conference play 2 weeks in a row can be a dangerous thing to do. You got at Wisconsin, then at Nebraska, who's just been an utter failure and disappointment under Scott Frost. Just nothing else to say. And the alarming thing, if you're a Nebraska fan, has to be not that you're terrible. It's that you haven't gotten one bit better since the minute Scott Frost was hired. I can't see any improvement there. Now, I'll give you a mulligan for last year like we did everybody else, but this is put up or shut up year for Scott Frost at Nebraska, in my opinion. Michigan travels there on October 9th, the second game of a 2-in-a-row road trip there for Michigan, at Whiskey, at Nebraska. Then you get your bye week. Good place for a bye week, right in the middle of the season. Come back home, play Northwestern. Northwestern, they're well coached. They get the most out of the talent they have. Every once in a while, they have a pretty good year where they win 8, 9, or 10 games, whatever the case. Michigan's got to win. You're a better team than Northwestern. You recruit at a much higher level. You've got way better athletes all over the field on both sides of the ball. You put way more players in the NFL. You've got to find a way to beat the Northwesterns of the world in the Big Ten. You just do, and you got to find a way to win that game. Then you go on the road, a revenge game against Michigan State. They beat you last year at your place. You get a chance to return the favor this year on the road against Sparty. Then you come back home and play Indiana. Indiana was sort of last year's Minnesota, right? 2 years ago, Minnesota, everybody was surprised how good they were. They went on to win 11 games, 11-2, I think they were. Last year was kind of Indiana's version of that. They surprised a lot of people, had a pretty good year. You host them. You know what Indiana reminds me of? Yeah, you had a lot of hype last year about Minnesota. Last offseason, because they had won 11 games the year before, and then that's all everybody wanted to talk about. Minnesota this, Minnesota that, blah, 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 blah. And they weren't very good. Kind of disappointing. Now, Indiana surprises people, has a pretty good year, and here we are in the offseason, and all I'm hearing about is how good Indiana's going to be. Maybe they will. I'm not suggesting Indiana's going to be a terrible team, but it's starting to look a lot like Minnesota looked last offseason. You get them at home, then you go on the road, again, back-to-back road games. Big Ten not doing you any favors with this scheduling here. At Penn State and at Maryland. Maryland's a team that is improving, in my opinion. They got Pineapple Jr. there, being his second year, to Tua Tagovailoa Jr., whatever the hell his name is. I actually like their coaching staff, too. They've been very inconsistent, though. Very inconsistent. You watch Maryland play, some weeks they look pretty good / really good. The next week they look like they've never seen a football before. Back-to-back road games at Penn State, at Maryland, Penn State. They were 0-5 last year and showed up and beat you. Not easy to play this game on the road at Penn State, but good luck. And then, of course, the final game of the season for you, the game, right? You get them at home this year. Can you beat Ohio State? Of course you can. This is college football. Anything can happen. Will anybody pick you to win the game? No, nor should they. I personally got so tired of being made a fool of by Michigan in this game that I have completely given up. I will never pick Michigan to beat Ohio State again, ever, until I see that they can do it, probably multiple times. You guys have been a constant letdown to me and my predictions about you over the last couple of years. I won't be making that mistake this year. I cannot pick, and nor do I think any sane or rational human being can pick Michigan to ever beat Ohio State again until we actually see it happen a few times. We'll see. This isn't a prediction video, but that's the last game. They'll be favored. How about we just leave it at that? Ohio State will be favored. Anything can happen. Maybe you win. I don't know. All right, there you go. The 2021 Michigan schedule. I mean, there's a couple of things jump off to me there. The Washington non-con game. As a college football fan, I like seeing these non-con games that we don't see very often, right? Georgia playing Notre Dame a couple of years ago. Alabama's playing Miami to start this season off. You guys are playing Washington. Ohio State's playing Oregon. I like seeing these games that we just don't get to see all that often. It'll be a good game too, I think. You got to go 2-1 in the non-con at worst. You could go 3-0. I'm not saying you can't beat Washington. You got to go 2-1 though. You lose to Western Michigan or NIU, forget it. Harbaugh would be both feet out the door instead of just one that he's been dangling out there for the last couple of years. Conference schedule, got to find a way to start things off with a win against Greg Schiano and Rutgers. You absolutely have. If you don't win that game, oh my God, it's going to get ugly for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. You got to win that one. At Wisconsin, at Nebraska. Back-to-back road games against one really good team and one struggling team. What can you do against them? We'll see. Northwestern, winnable game. At Michigan State, winnable game. Indiana, I think, a winnable game. At Penn State, winnable, but won't be easy. On the road, maybe it's a night game due to whiteout thing. I don't know. At Maryland, a team that's improving. And then, of course, the Ohio State game. Not an easy schedule. This is not an easy schedule for Michigan. The Washington game, and then these back-to-back road games, not an easy schedule. I personally think this is Jim Harbaugh's last season. Not necessarily just because of this schedule. I've been saying this for a while. I don't think he survives into 2022. I just don't. He'd have to beat Ohio State and win the division, and I don't see those things happening for Michigan this year. I know they just redid his contract or whatever, but look into what they did. Yes, they extended him out some, but they lowered his buyout. Why would you lower a buyout? Well, because that's what you have to pay a coach when you fire him. Michigan's not going to be terrible, I don't think. I don't see, Michigan's not going to be like a 4-8 team, I don't think. But hell, they could be 9-3. If Michigan goes 9-3, but they lose to Ohio State, Penn State, and Wisconsin, that's the same Michigan year we've seen every year for the last 10 years. I don't think that would be enough. I think Harbaugh would be gone even at 9-3 if those were the losses and you didn't win your division. Anyway, there you go. Michigan Wolverines 2021 college football schedule. I don't do predictions, at least until June. This is just schedule previews. In June, I'll put out a whole series of videos where I predict teams' records game by game, tell you what their record will be, who they'll beat, who they'll lose to. It's not these videos here. But if you want to take a stab at a prediction, let me know down in the comments section. What do you think Michigan's 2021 record will be? And don't just tell me 10-2. If you tell me 10-2, tell me where the losses are. Who do you think will beat Michigan in 2021? All right, I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good morning.